Welcome to Forged in Silence podcast, where we address issues men face but rarely talk about. Today, Robbie and I have Dave and Shelton joining us to have a conversation. I'm not going to splurge on the topic yet. We're just going to say hi to you guys and see how you're doing and how your day was and all the rest of the stuff. Shelton, how about you go first? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And my day has been great. I'm a stay-at-home dad with my baby. So my work week, if you can call it that, I work like every now and then, starts tomorrow. But it's just been, cloth diapers and naps today. I took a nap, so it's been a good day.
So you're wide awake.
I'm wide awake. I'm actually
You're
a little tired, but
a
I
little
can't complain.
after the nap.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, typically, he's napping quite a bit, so I'm usually taking about 2 naps a day, so I'm a little behind on sleep, if we're being honest, but I feel okay.
Shelton is a new friend of mine who I've met at the CrossFit gym, and every time we've seen each other, we've had a couple chit chats. So it's nice to have you join us, Shelton. I went and watched him at a local comedy show. Do you want to tell us about Joke Junction? There's plenty of people from Junction that are
Yeah.
subscribers, so you might as well talk about what you got going on in town.
Sure, yeah. I help to put on events through Joke Junction. We're trying to bring more stand-up comedy here to the Western Slope. We started in 2020. Great time to start a comedy thing. And we have twice monthly shows at Gemini Beer Co. in the old R5 building. Cool little shows, experimental shows, which is the one you came to. One of them's experimental, one of them's just regular stand-up, and then we're booked for other, teachers' appreciation nights, and I've done a wedding before, like a comedy style wedding, and so just whatever. I'm down to get weird, and that's what we're trying to do. So
Comedy's not anything if it's not weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
for sure.
So down to get weird. I'm gonna add that to his title. Down to get there. Down to get weird. That's
Such a fast typer too. You're really an incredible.
you've
incredible
earned
host
it.
here.
You've
You did
earned
great
it
on the
already.
intro, though.
I didn't quite butcher
fantastic.
it. It just
you didn't
chirped.
flub it at all. It came out smooth.
I tripped a little bit on one word. That's okay. I'm still learning English.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
It's a second language. English is a second language. Only sometimes. Most of the time, I'm pretty good at it. Yeah.
It's proper English from America, not Canada.
Yeah.
Well, there's that. We can have a whole conversation about who speaks English better.
Is English legitimately a second language? Do you speak French?
I do speak French, but English is my primary language by far. Yeah. No,
Cool.
if I speak French right now, the French wouldn't even understand what I'm saying. So
I got a French guy at the jiu-jitsu gym that you could try that out on, Franck.
Franck,
Yeah, he'd be down to talk French with you.
would he?
He's a legit Frenchman.
I'd just go up to him and be like, "Hey, man, you want to go for a rip?" And he'd know. You want to go hack a dart? Yep. Be good. He'd get it. You want a Timmy's?
Are these
Know all about it.
These are Canadian terms?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he's not Canadian. He's legit French.
He's
from
legit
France.
French?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then we probably even the French in Quebec is a little bit different than the French in Frenchland.
Yeah, it's Tex-Mex, but
all right. We'll move on to Dave and stop getting a little weird with Shelton. So go for it, Dave.
Hey, I'm Dave, and I actually retired from comedy in 2020, so I hung up
Hey.
my hat on that. That's a joke, by the way.
Oh.
But my day has been good. I have 5 kids. It's my day off from work, but obviously 5 kids keeps me busy, so a lot of running around and driving kids here and there. So that's been my day. No naps.
Dang. They're too old for naps?
Yeah. Or one of them chose to nap in the car, and I didn't think that was a good place for me to nap. So I
No.
A little bit of a safety concern going on there, huh?
Yeah.
I think the 2020 Dave might had a nap in the car though.
Yeah, he would have done it for sure.
Yeah. And Robbie, how about yourself?
I've had a busy week and a busy day today. The weather here in South Dakota has been a mess. It was 95 on Monday, 80 something on Tuesday. And yesterday was wind gusts 40, 60 miles an hour all day. Today has been the same, but it's a lot cooler. When I woke up, it was 40 degrees with wind gust of 40 to 60. So that's why I'm wearing a hoodie.
Yeah, you look like you're in South
Yeah.
Dakota.
I feel like
I was
it's
wondering.
But I'm good.
Yep.
Good.
Well, that's good. I had a pretty good day this morning. Today so far. Got outside a little bit, went and spoke to my professor. One of my professors this semester reached out to me a couple days ago and saw the flyer for the men's mental health podcast and said, "Hey, how about you? Are you available today? Stop by my office and let's have a chat." So I went back to the university today, even though I'm done school for the semester, and kind of shot the breeze with him for about an hour. So
Nice.
yeah. So I've made some neat connections because of this thing here in town. So it's been interesting. It was really cool just to sit down with this professor and have a really cool kind of honest guy to guy conversation. So I mean, I could appreciate that.
Yeah. What are you going to school for?
Accounting major.
Cool. Nice.
So just if Joke Junction needs some help with some numbers, let me know.
I actually hate numbers. Yeah,
Okay,
as you
so-
would expect. I'm trying to get better about liking numbers and doing better at accounting. So I couldn't
So
help, actually.
Well, there you go. And we could maybe, like, you could make fun of me and I could just do it right. And then we would be fine.
That sounds like a pretty good trade.
I saw you light up when I gave you the wide open to get weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just going to use that with you all the time.
That's
Okay, we got these guys together, and I asked them if they wanted to hop on here and have a conversation about what inspires you to be a better man. And I think when I look at this, when I think about this, I can go back a couple years ago, and it would be different than what it is for me right now. And there was a time for me when I didn't know what the heck inspired me, and it was pretty, I don't know, lonely and dark. And I think nowadays I think I'm still searching for some things that do inspire me. But I mean, let's talk about this. What inspires you to be a better man, and even who inspires you to be a better man? I think both of these could, and for me, the answer for who is, I'm not even quite sure. I think I can pick up little bits and pieces of some who's, but anyways, I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna leave the floor to one of you guys to go ahead and start.
Cool. Well, I'm new here and I've been talking a lot, but whatever, I'll just continue talking. Open the floor. And I feel the same as you, like it changes, maybe every couple of years, I don't know. I'm 34 and I went through the reason I started kind of trying to be a better man was really just self-preservation initially. I think the worse off you are with your mental health and your exercise routines and having things in line and everything, the worse your life is, the worse you feel, and the more miserable you are. And so I got married super young. I grew up in religious West Texas and married a preacher's daughter super young and got divorced super young. And when I got divorced, I was having panic attacks, and it was just kind of a change in my whole world, So it was really an act of self-preservation. Like, how can I better myself so that I don't feel this way in the future, So, but that has definitely changed as I've gotten older and as my situation has changed. Now I'd say that my what I'm most inspired by is my family and I've got a little boy, and so I want to be the best I can for him. But it's kind of my answer. Opening the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I could piggyback off of what you ended with there is my family definitely inspires me to be a better man. But I think um, that started because I'm in recovery over 2 years ago. I started that journey. But when I was actively drinking, I always told myself I was doing better than my parents were. So I accepted that as being good enough. But then once I entered in recovery and started to find myself and grow to um, be this better version of myself, that inspired me to want to keep leveling up. And then my bonds became better with my kids. My relationship with my partner has become better than I ever thought it could be. You know, it was spiraling out of control before, and now it's on a whole nother planet right now where we're at. And I keep getting inspired daily to do more, to keep stacking those bricks of success to my story that I'm creating.
Nice. Congrats on sobriety.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Robbie, what do you got?
This is so, the first thought that came to my head was, and this is something I've struggled with, for a long time, is the father figure that was in my life. I don't want to be him. I want to be something better than what I have as a father and as a man that was in my life, still is in my life, but wasn't in my life. He was, pretty absent when I was growing up. And I always told myself that if I have kids, I couldn't do that to my kids because I know what it has done to me, done to myself. So, kind of like you were saying, Steve, like I still don't know. It flip flops quite a bit for me with my daughter living with me. It's been a very interesting journey because she lived with her mother and had her mother's input for all those years. And I was just the fun dad. We'd go do stuff, all that kind of thing. So now I am the father figure, the parent, really the only parent in her life right now. So it changes daily with me. And I still struggle with it, and I will continue to struggle with it because it is, do I want to be the masculine dad, or do I want to show some love and empathy to my daughter when she's struggling and not just be, this is how life is and those kind of things. So I'm learning as this goes on, and every day is just different, really different. Some days I'm doing it for me, and some days I'm doing it for my daughter. The days that I'm doing it for my daughter, I will feel some shame that I'm not doing it for me. So that will come into play, and that will just wreck my head for a while. And what I've told myself is just, take this slow. We started this podcast to help men, Steve and myself. We need the space to talk to other men. In this world right now with social media and society, it's a very hard place for men to stand on their own 2 feet. And with me having a 14-year-old daughter, where she sees what she sees on social media as what she's supposed to be like and what other women are supposed to be like, and then she sees me over here as her father, a masculine person. I can see her brain thinking like, is this real? Is this what life is really about? And I remind her that, social media is fantasy land. It's not something that's real. You can go there and see what they're showing you on whatever you're watching, but it's probably not their real life. and I need you to come back to real life, and I need you to come back with me to this real life, and we're in this together. So that's where a lot of time it goes for me, is to raise a responsible young adult into adulthood with being able to be vulnerable, talk to who she needs to with her, friends, family, father, mother, and to show her that there's a lot more to this world than what she sees on social media. So I guess that's where my head's always swirling, as you guys probably know, with society and social media and life. It's like every time you look at something, something's different.
You brought up that you're open to learning all the time.
Yeah.
And I think in the end, as long as you stay open to it, then you're going to be open to seeing your next opportunity or the next problem you need to tackle. Sheldon, what you said earlier when you were talking about what inspires you, and I forget how you worded it, but it was, I remember my pain, and my inspiration, a lot of it now comes from never wanting to be the person I used to be. And so I want to put myself so fucking far away from it that it's part of the fire that burns inside of me to finally do better. Now, before, I would have been upset at the world, at whomever, like, how come you feel like I'm not doing good enough? Because it felt like I was trying my ass off and nothing was happening and I wasn't being appreciated. And so I was looking for my inspiration, I guess, from the outside. And turning that around, using the pain to be the inspiration, was something that, regardless of what anyone says, what anyone does, they can't take away. They can't take away the memory. They can't take away that feeling of suffering. And it sounds, the more I say this, the darker it sounds, but it's true. Like, I don't want to be that person that I used to be.
Mhm.
And the way to do that is to continue to grow. And the inspiration, what's happened for me was, as soon as I started being able to stack wins, like you were saying, Dave, like, you finally get a small win, something that means something to me, and then stack another one, and then stack another one. It's taken me, Shelton, 3.5 years since I quit drinking to do anything, but to even start thinking about working out
Mhm.
and looking at my food and my diet as something that was going to help my mental health. Like, I couldn't even fathom that. It wasn't something that I did.
Mhm.
And now it's something that I do, and I can see now and feel the benefit. And when I go to a CrossFit gym and I see guys like you and other guys there that have been doing it for a while, that just, like, rip through stuff way faster than I rip through it. Like, at the beginning when I first showed up there, and that place has done more for my psyche than I think I can even give it credit for yet. But even though y'all feel like you're miles ahead of me, seeing where you guys are inspires me. It could do two things, and I have a choice at what lens I want to see this world through. And I can see it through, there's no fucking way I'm going to be good enough to achieve that, because you guys have been doing it forever and I've been there for, logically 3 months. You know what I mean? Or I could go, holy hell, look at this. This is really awesome. Look at what these guys can do, and look at the work that they've put in. That's something that I can achieve. Like, I believe in myself now, and that's different than something that was in the past. And I'm sure there might be guys that are listening to this that feel like it's almost impossible. How can I be inspired? Like, I've got nothing that inspires me, because I think we live in a world that is so outside that it's hard to find something that inspires you to keep going and keep pushing through all of the noise of the freaking world. Throw the TV out, throw the news out, throw all of that stuff. And if you do throw all of that stuff out, all of the noise, it becomes a lot easier to listen to your inner self. For this is me, to listen to my inner self and put my face in a book, even though I told myself I wasn't a reader and I hated reading. I don't anymore. But anyways, it's what inspires me to be a better man. Family was the first thing that came up too. I want to be a better man for my daughters. They live far away right now, and maybe one day they won't. But that inspires me. If you get me talking, failure is not an option. It isn't. So whatever happens, whatever gets in my way, I need to figure out a healthy way around it or through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, failure is an opportunity.
Right.
I was going to say, what is failure?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an opportunity. It's just, anyways, there are people, and it's been a journey just to find people, to surround myself with people that are inspiring. I'm going to go to the who. And I think it's just, most of the time it's just regular everyday people. It's not anyone that's like doing anything crazy. It's just regular everyday people that are doing something better than I'm doing it right now, and they're doing it in a way that I need to be curious about.
Yeah, I liked what you said about that you felt like you were doing things, but you weren't being appreciated, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a big part of my journey has been becoming someone who appreciates the things I do for myself. I don't need external appreciation, or I try and do enough for myself it's not a sticking point for me when I don't receive the external appreciation that I, might otherwise want. And then becoming somebody, I think whenever you become somebody that you are doing things that you appreciate for yourself, you're operating, from an internal locus of control and what you're trying to become. You teach people, and people respond to you, and how people treat you is how you are enabling them to treat you. So suddenly everybody appreciates you because you're appreciating yourself and you're holding yourself as a person who can be appreciated.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to touch on, Steve, you said something about like getting further away from that guy you used to be, right? Like for me, my parents set such a low bar that back then when I wasn't meeting it, I was still beating that mediocre bar, right? And now where I'm sitting now, I'm like, wow, that bar was really low. That was really mediocre. And I've done so much work to get to where I'm at that, yeah, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I just want to keep excelling and going forward and pushing. And I love that mindset of failure is not an option. Like if I see a wall in front of me, I'm going to go right through that wall and get to where I need to be. And um, gaining that confidence, knowing that I can get through anything that comes in my way, has been a game changer for me. Something that I never had before. I never had that kind of confidence or drive or belief in myself, And I think when I excel at things, that then trickles down into my family, and they see that the work that I've done and the work that I'm willing to do to stay consistent and keep getting better and growing.
For sure. Yeah, it comes from the top, man.
Yeah.
You're the leader.
Yeah.
I've at a very young age, I was pretty much living on my own. So started working a full-time job, dropped out of high school, did junior and senior year in my senior year of high school because I wanted to graduate. Went to college, got an awesome career that I had. So like everything that I set out to do that I was able to accomplish. What I wasn't, able to accomplish was all the things that hurt me as a kid. I would just use that self-worth that I built up that I graduated college, I graduated high school, is my self-worth. And I stood on that, which as anyone should, but I was neglecting that inner child. And I did it for so many years of, yeah, I've done this. I have an awesome career, all these other things. But what really scared me was that dealing with that inner child and I abandoned myself. Yeah, I did all this other stuff to get the external validation. And, I would take it, but I just kept abandoning myself and never dealt with my own problems internally. And, 40 something years into my life, then I realized, shit, I haven't dealt with a lot of stuff. And that's when, the growth of being the best person I could be came along. I always, strived to be the best person I could be, but it was always through external validation. Like, what could I put out to the world that they could, tap me on the back and say, good job? It was never what I could tap myself on the back and say, good fucking job to myself. And I know a lot of men suffer with this because, boys are supposed to, go to school, graduate high school, go to college, get married, have the kids with the white picket fence. This is what society's telling us. We know this is not the truth. But what's all that stuff left inside that they've never dealt with in their life? And here we are in your 30s or 40s and going, shit, what did I do with my life? Why am I so angry? Why am I so sad? Why do I isolate myself? We can go on and on about all those things. And I think that's what needs to be talked about is we're providers. We love to provide and protect. But when we can do that successfully, what is left for us?
I was kind of waiting for you to answer your own question.
I do not know the answer to that. And I think that's a lot of answers, a lot of problems that men struggle with is I've done this. I've had the career. I've graduated college. I have the wife. I have the white picket fence. I got the house. But
yet none of what inspires me is stuff. And still to this day, it's not things that I want to strive to achieve. I think the things, whatever those things are, will come with my will to continue to grow and learn and try new things. And I think that's where, like, I've been inspired. What's the word I'm looking for? I think self-reflection. It's a tough place to admit to yourself that things aren't going the way that you wished for them to go. And then have that be an excuse or a reason to stop trying or to not be inspired or to not put any more effort in. I think there's a lot of guys out there that have put a shit ton of effort into their life, and it literally, Robbie, I think you mentioned this, like it feels like there's nothing there still. And to find your, and when I say it that way, it feels helpless and it feels lonely. But I guess if I was to ask you, how did you start? And this might be a tough question, but how did you start using yourself as your own fuel for, like, that's what we're talking about, right? Like, the inspiration is kind of the fuel. And so you all have an internal fuel, whether it's family or just taking care of yourself. And I think if you take care of yourself, you're probably going to be naturally inspired to continue down that path.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you talk, and as I was thinking of like who inspires me, part of me was like, why did I not say myself? Because you know, right now I'm inspiring myself just by shocking myself with all the things that I can accomplish. You know what I mean? Like that fuels me to keep going. But what started that? You know, obviously going through recovery and getting sober was the the starting point of it all. But beyond that, when I added fitness and getting healthy and going to counseling, those things were all became huge parts of me becoming who I am today. You know, being able to go to counseling and talk about all of those past traumas and heal from them and get them out, because I had told myself for so long that I was already healed from them when I wasn't, in fact, healed from any of them, you know. Um, and that also trickles down to my family and shows them that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to go get help and talk to someone, you know, especially as a man doing it, which I don't think gets talked about a lot. I get to raise my young children that are teenage boys and get them to see that that's okay if that's something they need to do as well. But um, but yeah, adding when I added fitness and each milestone I accomplished there and getting more comfortable at pushing myself and seeing that I can achieve all the goals that I put in front of me, it's just, I don't know, it just helps me keep thriving.
I guess for me, you know, I always thought my problems weren't really problems. So I would just run from them. And I continued running from them. And, you know, I just see that same constant circle go around and around of the same old shit. And I got sick of it. So that's when I stopped and decided to put myself first and grow on who I actually am and what my needs are, and stop people pleasing and giving all my, you know, all my attention to other people, and start digging deep down inside of what makes me tick. And it's an ongoing journey. I know, you know, it's going to go till the day I die, which makes me really excited. That's what really lights my fire, is knowing that if I don't like this chapter, I could stop and write another one the way I want it. I went too long with this first chapter of not being able to, I wouldn't say write it, because it feels like it was wrote for me.
Floating along.
Yeah. I wasn't in control. I just let it, you know, be what it was. And I was like, oh, we got to end this chapter, then start on this next chapter that I get to write. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't now go without struggle, which, you know, I know we all know. That's what really keeps me going. Is it's weird because I have to keep my ego out of this, which is really hard, because a lot of times I tell myself I want what's best for me, but then I'll say, well, what's the best for me? And it'll go to an egotistical place where it's a lot of stuff, as Steve said, stuff. But I don't want that stuff. I want to be, emotional, have emotional freedom, be able to be vulnerable, pass that on. Yeah, I guess it's just that this chapter that I'm on now, and if I get sick of this chapter, I'll start the next one.
The hardest part is trying to not rewrite the same chapter.
Well
Right?
said.
Like you're like,
Yeah.
screw this, I'm fucking done. And then you're like, why am I doing this same shit? Change is hard. Change is hard. Change is difficult. But
Mhm.
you have to stop writing the chapter and start writing a new one to find out that I'm writing the same damn chapter over and over again. But that's the hardest part.
Well, it's like you're doing, by changing your habits, you slowly and incrementally change your identity,
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you're doing CrossFit because, you're identifying as a person who wants to be healthy. Like I'm a healthy person, that's why I do CrossFit. It's not like I'm not doing it out of obligation, or I'm not doing it to like try and change. Like I'm identifying as a healthy person, and that's why I'm exercising. I do this because that's who I am.
Yep.
I'm in this program called Apogee Men, which is kind of I think you guys would actually be interested in. It's a pretty cool program, but I'm starting an Apogee school because I want my son to be brought up in an education that teaches him values and making eye contact and shaking hands and figuring stuff out on his own and critical thinking and all kinds of stuff. I'm real fired up about the school. But as part of the school, I get to do this Apogee Men's program. And in the Apogee Men's program, it's basically a developmental program. And the first month, it was all about identifying ways that where you've been weak and trying to eliminate those weaknesses and then trying to go forward in a stronger way. And one of the things that I think relates to this conversation, we read this book called The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. And it's about creating, he works with a bunch of, professional basketball players and sports people. And it's about creating alter egos for you when you step onto your field of play, which for, some big time football stars or whatever, they're like, I'm, Jason when I step onto the field. Like I'm just going to be vicious, and like that's not who they are in regular life, but they're killers on the field. That's how they're identifying to try and get the job done. But creating like a field of play for each of the areas of your life where you need to be slightly different. Like Robbie, you were mentioning as a dad, sometimes you feel guilty whenever you're doing it for your daughter or doing it for yourself. And I'm, new to this dad stuff, and my kid's only 10 months old. So we're not into like deep conversations or anything yet. But I've laid out, just because of last month's little assignment thing, who I want to be as a father, and who I want to be as a husband, and who I want to be even as a comedian, who I'd like to emulate as a comedian, and who I want to be when I exercise. And so I have each of these little categories that like I have specific, each category requires a different value set or characteristics to be good. I'm not going to compete in jujitsu the same way that I am a good husband. That'd be a little aggressive. So, that's been kind of an interesting mental shift though. Like when I'm entering the jiu-jitsu gym, I think like, all right, these are the characteristics that I'm trying to display in this part of my life, in this bucket. And when I'm interacting with my son, I'm like, these are the character, like I need to be slightly different here. These are the characteristics that I'm trying to display when I'm interacting with my son, which is a slightly different relationship than with my wife or whatever. But that's been kind of a helpful, almost like a mental hack, and we use that all the time. I'm sure that there were some, when you guys became sober, at some point that clicks over. And I don't know how that clicks over, but at some point you change your mind and you become, slightly different. And maybe that's an embodiment of, you're tapping into, I want to be this type of person. And so you're just trying to change your identity immediately around that. And that helps it to click on. I watched this. I heard that you do ultra marathon things. Robbie, do you do ultra marathons, or you just do a podcast about ultra marathoners?
No, I run ultra
Oh,
marathons.
nice. Good for you. That's awesome. That's totally badass, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
I just ran a 21K, so it's 13 miles here in Fruta. And I did not manage my nutrition well, and I cramped horribly after like 7 miles, and I got blisters on my feet after 3 miles, and it was miserable. But one day I'll do a 50K or something. I just got to figure that stuff out. But I watched this documentary, The King of Moab, which is about the guy that won the Moab 240 last year.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good documentary. But he talks, I mean, he's a former addict, and a lot of the ultra marathon runners are former addicts. And I just started pretending in the morning for like a week after I watched that documentary. I was like, I'm having a hard time getting stuff done, like being productive during the day with my baby at home. It's hard having a 10-month, he's running around and doing stuff. So I needed to start waking up earlier. And I was like, what if I just pretended, that I had like a demon chasing me? Like, what if I just like tapped in? Like, I have to get up at 3 and I have to ice bathe and I have to like get my day started. Otherwise, I'll fall into some bad habit. This is how I have to operate, or else this thing will catch me, And it was a powerful hack. It worked for while I needed it to work. I was able to wake up at 3 every day for a period of time, just because when the alarm first went off in the morning, I was like, I've got, something
Fucking
is chasing
demon.
me. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. If I don't do this, I'm going to do heroin. I have to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting little mental hacks.
That's interesting. Is there what did you call that? Apogee?
Apogee Men is the mentorship type program.
Mhm.
There's Apogee Men and Apogee Women. And a quick little plug for my school: if you enroll your child in an Apogee school, then you get free access to the Apogee Men and Apogee Women. We're trying to create leaders in the kids and create leaders in the parents, and have everybody on the same kind of train. And so Apogee Men teaches leadership skills and entrepreneurial skills and financial management, all kinds of stuff. And I'm only in month 2 of it, but it's been great. And then same thing for Apogee Women. And those programs are standalone programs that people usually pay about $3,000 for. So it's a nice perk with having your kid enrolled. But it's been a great program.
Robbie, what we can do is include, if you could send us the links to the program that you're doing, then do that, because if there's somebody listening here that's curious about what you're doing because they like the way you're speaking and it's something that is inspiring them, then I'd love for them to be able to find it. So we'll include that. If you shoot the links to me, then we'll include that in the show notes. And if somebody else is interested in doing that, then absolutely. Sounds like a neat program.
Yeah, it's been really cool. And it's it's a men's program and a women's program. So there's calls every week that we all get together and ask questions and talk to each other and try and help each other. And it's been a pretty cool program.
I feel like that's a really awesome way for to connect with other men that are trying to go on follow the same path that you're following.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Like-minded people.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice to find a tribe.
Yep. Really, really cool. Before we wrap this up, is there anyone, I'm going to go with who inspires you to be a better man? Is there anyone in your life? Is there anyone on social media? Is there anyone specific, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they go about their life? Do you have, and it's okay to not have any either, but is there someone out there that you just, whenever you listen to them, or whenever you listen to them, they have your attention?
I've been a longtime fan of Tim Ferriss. I really like Tim Ferriss. I like his podcast, and I admire how he's been open about his struggles. And he had a podcast about he suffered sexual abuse when he was a kid that he wasn't aware of until an adult, and he kind of had a podcast explaining how he came around from that. So he seems like he adjusts and adapts who he is based on his goals and keeps moving forward, in his life, which is cool. I enjoy his podcast.
Awesome.
Oh, for me, I feel like it's not like a kind of, I think you were saying this a little bit earlier too, Steve. It's not like any one person. It's like these snippets of little pieces I see in people, uh, Steve, you being one of the first when I was in recovery, I was like, oh my God, this guy is awesome, and like that was a little snippet of what I liked, and I use that to inspire me. And I meet people throughout my day or meet people on social media and get to talk to them, or do podcasts with guys like you, and I find these little nuggets, and I feel like just I want to meet so many people and talk to them because so many stories are so different. I just love taking little pieces of that, and that inspires me.
Robbie?
For me, I've been trying to think. I'm kind of like you, Dave. I have all these little nuggets of people
Yeah.
that inspire me. And something Shelton hit was with the alter ego thing. Um, first thing when you said that came to mind was David Goggins. Because he had to do Goggins for his alter ego because that's what got him through those races and tough stuff and SEALs and all that. And I kind of, what inspires me or who do I look up to? It's kind of weird that I put it this way, is the person I do not want to be or the people in my life that I don't want to be like. Those are, I like use that reverse psychology, like to not play off that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like a whole gamut. But I also know with myself and my addiction that if I play too much into one thing, I can just make a cross addiction really easy and really fast because that's just where my mind goes to feel comfortable. So there's a lot of people that inspire me and I look up to. The weird thing though is, like, I don't know if you guys know who Cameron Haynes is. He bow hunter. He started bow hunting. He brought bow hunting to the world pretty much on Joe Rogan. He's also an ultra runner. And he's just an all around badass. Like, I look up to him like with the athlete in mind, but then he's raised some pretty badass kids too. Like, his kids got the fastest time in a pair of jeans in a marathon, has the pull up record in 24 hours. But he also admits that he always wasn't the best dad, that he might have done some things that weren't the best, but you see where his kids are at. Those are the kinds of people that like inspire me and I look up to. It was like the people that will tell us their wrongs that they did and where they learned from, so I can learn from them also, and I can help others learn from them too, with kind of what I talk about in my story. That's just kind of where I find that, because Steve and I have talked about this before. Like, we can get on social media, and I used to love, the Huberman Lab, but then it became where he told you how to live your life, and if you didn't do all these routines throughout the day, that whatever. I took that as I'm a less person, so I have to be really careful with those things and just pick nuggets off the people that inspire me and who I look up to. And like, I have this big huge basket of all these people in there, and some mornings I might have to pick from one or two. Some afternoons I might have to pick from one or two, or it could be throughout the day. If I'm having a bad day, I'm like, what would this person say to me? But a lot of times I come back to myself, what would you say to yourself 20 years from now? And that always brings me right back. So I like to think that I inspire myself.
For sure.
Absolutely. Thanks
Love
for
that.
sharing. I'm going to share mine and then I'll probably just wrap this up. But the I go I think I'm still searching for somebody that exists in my physical world to what I don't even know what the word is, to look up to. Because I think like having a mentor or something like that to really, and I'm still searching for that. But in the meantime, with the basket of people, Alex Hermosi is a guy who brings a lot of honesty when he shares because he talks about his failures. Chris Williamson, Peter Crone, because when I listen to him, he talks about emotional intelligence in a way in which that is real but also soft. And I feel like that is a way that I would like to be. And then for philosophy wise and life philosophy wise, Henry David Thoreau. And he's just, I mean, I've been to his gravesite, I've walked his path, I've been to where his cottage was, and there's bits and pieces of all the things, and what it comes down to is a quote that I have written on my whiteboard here by Cory Muscara that says, "Do the work or spend your life quoting the people who did." And I used to be a person who would read a quote or see that and be like, "Damn, that's good," and then do nothing with it and not make it personal. And that's on my board because that's personal. And it's personal to me because nothing would have been inspiring. No one was inspiring until I made it personal. And I think all of you guys expressed that same thing. I'm going to wrap this up by saying the same thing that I always say is we're here, Robbie and I are here because we were men that suffered in silence. And we want to bring a voice and hopefully some inspiration and a space to speak. And maybe we said some things, hopefully, that you needed to hear that maybe will help you stack a win. Or if you do need help and you do need inspiration and somebody here said something that you can latch onto, reach out to myself, reach out to Robbie, reach out to Shelton, reach out to Dave. I'm sure that these men are also willing to listen and also willing to help. And so I want to say thank you, Shelton, and thank you, Dave, for spending the time with us here tonight and sharing what inspires you to be a better man and who inspires you to be a better man. I loved this conversation. I really appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.